Yo, yo, what is up? What is up? I am your boy Nerdtaku, and I am doing this solo for once. I was. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't come at me like this. No, I was. I had work. I had to work from home, even though I took leave today to take care of my baby. But my wife finished work, and she was able to get her down for a nap. So I have like probably an hour ish. So, and then I saw the chapter dropped. So I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do it at all this weekend. Solo, who you usually have with you. I usually have Noelle. That because she's down for a nap, I actually get to do it. This chapter review. So, super excited to do this. I don't have much time, so I'm going to blaze right into it. And, let's chat after. Yeah, I'll try and get on and we can at least chat for a little bit. I can run a theory by you that I plan on crafting. It still needs a little bit of work, but I'll give you the rough draft version. So, now that I have some free time, spoilers? No, I have not been spoiled by this chapter at all. So for this chapter at all. So I'm gonna try and. Luckily, I haven't been spoiled on this, so I'm ready to go for this chapter. Per usual, it is down. Hold on, here, right here in the corner, with my logo over it. So I am ready to go. Spoilers about what? About what? Like my theory? My theory is about. No, I'm saying 1173. Yes, I haven't read any spoilers on 1173, but the chapter dropped, at least fan translation wise. So I'm going to read it here now, and then read the official when it drops on Sunday. So, without further ado, let's jump into this amazing 1173. Is this the weekend's chapter or last? This weekend's chapter. So it's the one that would be dropping on Sunday. But this is just the fan translation. It dropped like a day or so early fan wise, but the official will come out on Sunday. So let's jump into it. We have chapter 1173, A Generation of Warriors. And then it says cover request by Saito Usopp covering his nose with honey as a lure to catch a rhinoceros beetle. Interesting. All right. Very interesting. It's also interesting whenever there's like a rhinoceros beetle or something, it's always like choppers in the background. Um, so cause like whenever Luffy has like a beetle or something like that, Chopper is always with him. Um, and here we see another beetle and we see Chopper. So that's interesting. Otis notes, bet you're all really enjoying Kusogane's TikTok content. Me too, they're so creative. Interesting. Okay, will do. Hold on one second. Chopper awakens incoming. I'm telling you, dude. Okay. My wife just messaged me and said my daughter My daughter is awake. Give me 1 minute. Let me go grab her. Hello. Alrighty. You ready to read? Alright. So, we have Yarul facing off with the Domi Reverses. And it looks like we see Howardin said, oh wait, hold on. They see them say, kill Yarul. And then we see Yarul says, don't. Dory, Broggy, it's unthinkable to see you like this. And then we see Hardin and Stanzen running. And he's like, what's this plan of yours, Roadora Zoro? And then Zoro says, first things first, is it okay if I cut those guys down? And Hardin says, it is, but we're up against the entire giant warrior crew. Saving Elder Yarul is our top priority, but these warriors have all earned our respect. Try to spare their pride at least. And then all of a sudden they turn around and they say, Hardin stands in. And Hardin says, we've been spotted. And Stanza says, don't let them surround us. Interesting. And then we hear, oh, hold on, somebody is spitting up a little bit. Here, let me wipe your little mouth. Let me wipe your little mouth. Ow. Hi there. Okay. Do you want to be up here? You want to sit up here? And then we hear snap. Oh, it says, hey, did you finish your quest to unite all of the giants of the world? And it says, yeah, right, by now they have to know that's never gonna happen. Zugya. Oof. They're hitting hard and where it hurts. Right in his dream. And then Stanzen and Hardin both snap. And they say, Go for it, Roranoa. Roranoa. Holy fuck. I just had like a embolism. And Zoro says, okay, brothers, you got it. And he jumps up. And all of a sudden, they're like, I see. You won't get trapped between them if you approach from above. And Hardin says, D-gaga, clever move. And then they like split off and it says, Stanzen, let's circle around them from the other side. And he says, Roger, Hardin. And they like go to the right and left as the Domi Reversi people like swing down and miss them. And then you see Zoro just jumping on their heads like he's fucking Mario. And it's like, boop, boop, boop. And they're like, hey. And then he says, above us, that puny human. And he goes, 3-sword style, secret technique. What do we got? And he says, crossing of the 6 paths. And just cuts them all up. And then he's like heading for Dory and Bragi. And they're like, Roanoa. And he's like, Dory, Bragi. What does he say there? And he says, unbelievable. And they like attack each other. And Dory and Bragi both cut each other. And Zoro's like, huh? And Yaro's like, Dory, Bragi. And they're like, chiefs. Oh, man. Ugh, are you getting a load of this? Ugh. Are you getting a load of this? And then it's like, huff, huff, huff. And it says branch 8, Brooks location. And he's just going like a worm. And it's like, And then he pants. And then he sees Gonko. And he says, Princess Shuri, are you there? And it says, you there. Are you Princess Shuri? And he like looks. And she's like got like 3 dots. And Brooke is like, huff, huff, pant. And then he says, I can't see how you could possibly be her. I'm certain it's impossible, but it's hard to deny you're her spitting image, so I have to make sure. So interesting. Wait, hold on. Let me back up a second. Okay, so that's... It says, even if you aren't the princess, surely you must be of her blood. If the princess were alive today, she would be nearing 80 by now. I know, it's crazy. Hi. Do you want a pacifier? Oh my god, the scam likely call us crazy. It says, of course she wouldn't recognize me given how much I've changed, and yet those features, the blue hair, the mismatched eye color, and a connection to the Holy Land, plus you're fond of my music too, aren't you? Every single detail is a perfect match. Princess Shuri. I had hoped I'd go the rest of my life without ever having to think about you again. I owed everything to the man whose life you took. My patricidal princess. Whoa. Patricidal princess. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here. There we go. This is crazy. And then it's like, huh? And then all of a sudden we hear, Gunko, are thy memories beginning to return? And then all of a sudden, Gunko gets back to consciousness and it says, Brooke, you have to run. And it's like, huh? Look, it's wiggling. Interesting. Interesting. And he's like, I'm free. And then all of a sudden it says, Gunko, thou attemptest to move of thine own will? So Emu's like, and then she says, Brooke, and then she's like, ah. And then it says, my leg got stuck again. It says, why did you tell me to run? I came to settle this matter. Now who are you? And then we get a glare from what is definitely Emu. And Emu's like, shut thy mouth. Who art thou to Gunko? Interesting. Damn, and looks like Brooke is blocking a Conqueror's leaking attack. And then it says, Branch 8, Usopp's group. And it says, woo, we're finally free. My mind powers did the trick, you see? And then Jimmy says, the arrows came loose for a moment. What happened? And then it says, Robin's restraints are different. We have to get these thorns off her. And she's like, forget me, Nami. Focus on the children. And then it says, I saw Anj slip away earlier, but I doubt she'll make it in time. West Village is way too far. And then all of a sudden we hear Nami Swan, and then we hear Sanji-kun. And it says, Branch 8 near West Village. And Summer says, Gee ha ha, keep moving, you brats. And then it says, the finish line is just over there. And then Colin says, you're one of the demons Elder Yarul mentioned, aren't you? We'll make you pay for this. Elbaf is really strong. You'll see. And Summer says, moron, we know all about how strong giants are. That's why we're after you. You're Gabon's kid, right? And Colin says, I'd shut up and unwrap these thorns if I were you. And they're all like, yeah, let us go. And Colin's like, I dare you to face us like a warrior. And Summer's like, Gah, you're a real hoot. It's way too late for that. And then Summers goes, look, I can already see the harbor. Say goodbye to your homeland. This is the last time you'll ever see it. Hi. And they're like, what? No way. You mean I'll never see Ma and Pa again? I don't want that. Someone help us. And then someone says, ahem, hello, great one. Killingham and I are about to complete our task. And this is, I'm dying to go home already, but do you have any more bidding for me to attend to first? And then we hear, Colin, Yilva, Olaf. And Summer says, how'd they get here? Weren't the great demons meant to stop them? And someone's like, Mommy, it's my mom and the others. Grandpa Oimo. Oimo's a grandpa? What the fuck? Who's doing that? And then someone said, wait, above you, watch out. And they're like, it's Nika. And it says, the god of destruction. Interesting. Even you're interested, right? And then it says, Mom, everyone, run. It says, from this, Nika, don't be silly. You're underestimating us. And it looks like... Hold on. There we go. You did so good keeping it in. There we go. And then it says, we come from a generation of warriors. And they're like, they're so strong. And then Nika glares and says, hey guys, the kids are there. We won't make it in time if we sprint. Even if we sprint. And then, oh, here we go. And it says, let's do it, Goldberg. And Goldberg's like, right, 2 generals. And he says, wait, let me join in. I'll save you, little brother. And they're like, 3 generals. And then they're like, go Koku sovereignty? Not Ikoku. Go Cuckoo, sovereignty, and just blast a hole in him. And it just blows him in half. And then it starts going towards Sommers. And then he's like, hey, back off before you crush me. And he just tees off. And then it blows the giant right into the ship where he was supposed to be taking the kids. And then it just like completely sinks the ship. And Sommers goes, oh shit. And then it says, the game takes an unexpected turn. What do you think? What do you think of that? Yeah, that's how I feel. Wow. Wow. What a chapter. What a chapter. That was a pretty crazy one. I'm not gonna lie. Wow. Again, there's a lot of going on here because there's a lot of build to this. Right? There's a lot of build to this because we still haven't exactly gotten like Luffy and Loki showing up, which should have like happened or at least be happening like ASAP. But I know Oda. I know what he's doing here. Yes. Yes, I do. He went 1172, 1173. Next is him going for 1174 and then a break week. And at the end of 1174 is when Luffy and Loki are going to show up guns of fucking blazing. Guaranteed. I know Oda. I fucking know him. But yeah, let's run through this quick because obviously I have. I knew it. What? What can I do for you? So, first part of the chapter, them like going towards the Domi Reversi Giants is great. And him and Zoro being like, can I cut them up? And it's like, try and spare them their pride. And then they make fun of Harden's dream, and he's like, do it. Destroy them. That's so funny. The thing that I think is interesting, maybe, is the fact that Zoro is going to attack Dory and Broggy, and it looks like he kind of deflects their attacks, and then after he deflects their attacks, they go and like cut through each other, which is, I mean, and they're like the Chiefs, but really like they're gonna be fine. They're gonna grow back and it's gonna be good. Hello. That's cool. Brooke, like, centipeding over. This is interesting. Princess Shuri. The mention of a princess, and it says, even if you aren't the princess, surely you must be of her blood. If the princess were alive today, she'd be 80. And of course, she wouldn't recognize me given how much I've changed. And yet, those features, the blue hair, the mismatched eye color, and the connection to the Holy Land. So, whatever princess he did serve had a connection to the Holy Land. And then he's like, plus you're fond of my music. Every single detail is a perfect match, Princess Shuri. I'd go the rest of my life without ever having to think about you again. I owed everything to the man whose life you took, my patricidal princess. Patricide is when you kill your father. So that means that Gunko killed her father. Don't ever do that. Okay? Don't be a patricidal princess. So that's interesting. And then the fact that she like shook Emu's control for a second and like he's like, Gunko, are thy memories beginning to return? And then all of a sudden she like snaps out of it. She like does her arrows for a second, and Brooke like kind of gets free for a second, and they see the line wiggling, and it's happened all over the place. So everywhere her powers are currently being utilized. Yes. Do you have something you would like to add? Anything? Okay. And then he gets out of it, but his leg is still kind of stuck. And then Emu being like, thou attemptst to move on thine own will? And then he just immediately takes back over. And Brooke's like, who are you? And she attacks him with the pitchfork that she has. So, very interesting that they're fighting. The Straw Hat's getting free minus Robin's cool. Sanji showing up. And then the Sommers piece is interesting. Especially because, I mean, this is just, I don't know. It's very interesting. That I don't know. And also the three of the giant warrior pirates being able to use it's funny because Ikoku sovereignty is two people using like a combined attack. But Gokoku sovereignty is three people using it. You would think it would be Nikoku sovereignty would be two people. Ikoku sovereignty would be one people. Gokoku sovereignty is three. Because Ichi ni, and well, then it should be Sakoku sovereignty or something like that for three. Then, because Ichi ni San Chi Goku, something like that. Anyway, so interesting wording there. It is a fan translation, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, the three of them just absolutely blasting that Nika. And then him going towards Sommers, just for Sommers to hit the dude with the spiked club, and the thing just fly and immediately hit the ship and smash it is so funny. I wonder if that is going to like smash down and it's going to destroy the ship, and then all of a sudden from the ship, where the ship is, if Luffy and Loki are gonna pop up. It'd be really cool. So anyway, this was a dope chapter. I thought it was really well done. Um, I think that it is very much one of those just like building chapters where they're just trying to, you know, hype it all up and get people in place for these, you know, moments that are going to be like the tee offs for the fights. Hi. Hi, how are you? Love you. Um, and it's just going to be a really great, just like, I know that it's building to something great. Like, 1174 is probably going to pop off something crazy, and it's going to leave us on a crazy cliffhanger for Oda to go on break. So, overall, I thought the chapter was good. I want to give it a 7.5. It was slightly better than the 7 of last week, but it wasn't as good as some of the previous stuff because again, like you can only do you can only have so many hype chapters where like there needs to be moments of build for the story to mount into something crazy. You know, you can't just I don't know. It would be like you can't always have a roller coaster, right? Yes. You can't always have a roller coaster that's always at the peak and it's going over it and you're having the most fun ever on the downward slope. You have to go up to come down. You know, you have to have the slow trip up the mountain to then come down and have the full enjoyment of a roller coaster. Yes. Right? Yeah. But overall, it was definitely an amazing chapter. Well, maybe not amazing. Amazing is big words, but I would say it was a good chapter. There were some great moments, but you know, I think that it suffers from the fact that we know Luffy's coming, but we just like want Luffy to be here already because we want to see them tee off and fight. But these are the necessary chapters to get us to those points that feel like lulls. They feel like not as action packed because they're not, but also because they need to set things up for those moments. You know, not every chapter can just be gas after gas after gas. There needs to be lulls so that way you appreciate the gas. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, like I said, it's probably like a 7.5, 8. Um, love the stuff with Zoro. Um, love the stuff with Brooke. And I truly just want, like, Sanji to fight Sommers so bad. So bad. So I'm really hoping that that happens. But anyway, those are my thoughts, and I gotta go lay this little girl down. She tired. She's tired. She woke up from her nap, but she's still tired. Right? Um, but anyway, I was really glad I got to get to this, and hopefully, you know, we can have a really great stream next week once 1174 comes out. I'm super hyped for that. And hopefully, you know, that chapter is peak, and I would put money on it that it will be. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing them. I say this every time, but One Piece is better as a conversation. So please, I enjoy having that conversation with you guys. So let me know in the comments. Please like the stream, subscribe if you can, do all that good stuff. Follow me on other platforms, and I will see you next week for sure. But until then, Jana.